Welcome to Telling the Tale. It's the podcast where we'll go through every single Telltale developed video game, and this is the last one.
Awesome.
My name is Mitchell Farley Wolf, and I'm here as always with other host Dustin Cornelius Jackson. How you doing,
Hello!
Dustin?
I'm doing just dandy, thank you, Mitchell.
Yeah, this is the last one. There's more, but this is the last one of those that is developed by Telltale.
This is the last full game.
But
we have little parts left.
No. Episode 2 specifically is the last Telltale game.
Oh yeah, you're right. This is the last one they made before Telltale closed down.
Yeah, the one we're referring to specifically, in case you're curious, dear listeners, The Walking Dead, the final season, Episode 2, Suffer the Children, released September 25th, 2018, directed by Chris Reiser, designed by Emily Grace Buck, and written by Mark Kenny, Adam Esquenazi Douglas, and Douglas Liebleck. This is the last episode that was released under the Telltale banner.
Man, could you imagine being like, you get to the end of this episode, and then they say, yeah, that's it. That's all of them. No more.
Yeah, it's not a great one to be the ending forever. This episode ends with the gang capturing one of the raiders that is a problem for them, and they're about to start interrogating him, and that's the end of the episode. It is I think actually uniquely a pretty humdrum end of an episode. The actual end, the climax was exciting and big, but that's not like a big cliffhanger or anything like they normally do.
No, I feel like it would. The bigger cliffhanger would be like if they ended it right when you see like their cart taking some of their guys away, and you just see Clementine the scared look on her face. And then it cuts to black, and it's like next time on The Walking Dead.
It doesn't even say next time on The Walking Dead. I feel like we've made that joke a few times, and it never does that.
No, well, it used to.
There were some series in which it happened, but it was not the majority at all. It was, and even then, it would be like just scenes. They wouldn't say next time on The Walking Dead.
Yeah, we got to do that ourselves.
Yeah, when I go back and I add all the voice clips that you've told me to do over the years, that'll be one of them, I guess.
That rules. I love that.
Sure. Yeah, I would be very upset if they didn't get to finish the last 2 episodes of the story. It would have been a big thing for years. This would have been the Half-Life 3 of a certain crowd.
Yeah, and you know what? I feel like any other Telltale game, I would accept it. Like even series I like more than The Walking Dead, like Sam and Max, I would be more understanding if they were like in the middle of a Sam and Max season and said, hey, we ran out of money, sorry, we can't.
Yeah.
But Walking Dead, I'm like, well, no, hold on, you were, especially since they bill this as the final season.
yeah, that actually drives me kind of wild that even internally they couldn't argue for like, guys, there's 2 more. Can we just not be bankrupt for that much longer?
We hold out a little bit, please.
There's 2 more.
We can go without eating a sandwich today.
We should talk about the fact that the reason that this season was able to be finished was that the original creator of the Walking Dead comics heard on a telephone call the day that Telltale was going under, and that The Walking Dead would be canceled 2 episodes away from the very end of the story. So he rushed over there and just started hiring people. It's a wild story that he was just like, yeah, you're hired, and can you make it? Yep, then you're hired, and I'll
get over here.
I'll buy those computers, and someone can illegally please copy the hard drive off their work computer before they are escorted out by security. That actually happened.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, right?
That's a whole crazy story.
Yeah, and they just were able to finish it. Those last 2 episodes.
I'm so glad. I would have been so upset if they didn't. I'm very glad they got to.
Yeah, and from what I could tell,
obviously I wouldn't be upset with them.
From everyone talking about this, I have not discerned that there's any perceived quality drop with the next 2. So I guess it worked out and everything.
Yeah, I was just thinking that. Like, I wonder if things will feel different, but I've never heard, like, anyone bring that up. But to be fair, I've been trying not to. I never looked into anything on this season.
Well, I think one of the big problems of this moment is that very few people were playing that could have brought it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true.
I mean, that's part of why we're doing the show. To play and talk about every single episode. So let's talk about this one. Dustin, what'd you think?
I thought it was great. It's another one of those. It's an episode 2 of a Telltale game, which is we are on the road to get to the big stuff. But as far as one of those goes, I thought it was great. Like, lots of just great little character moments. I feel like, I don't know. I don't want to sell the other season short, but it really feels like maybe the first time I've really been invested in our group of characters since season 1. Like, I liked them in 2 and 3. I kind of liked them in 2, and I thought 3 was a big step up for your characters. But this really feels like, oh, I don't want any of these people to die if I can help it.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that in any other Telltale series, the episode that's all about like getting on the road to the big thing is just gonna feel flat. But then this one, I think the big thing is more likely to feel flat if either of them are going to, because like the thing that I've always loved about this series and that is working very well in this game is that interpersonal dynamic stuff that happens when Clementine is just able to like ground herself out and be like, okay, listen, I don't know if this is the best idea or that thing, or maybe we should eat that guy. I don't know. The stuff that Clementine says.
Right. Typical Clementine jargon.
Yeah. Typical behavior. So like if the big thing is an attack on a raider town, which it sounds like it's going to be, that has actually proved to be less gripping for me in the past, like that big action sequence in a Walking Dead game. But it is valuable to see it through, I guess.
Yeah, totally. I would feel like it would work better here than it would in the past, just because I am really growing attached to these characters, even the ones that I thought were going to be entirely unimportant from the last episode. Like Ruby and Mitch really step up in this episode. And I didn't care who they were at the end of last episode. And in this episode, they have great scenes.
Yeah, totally. Mitch in this episode... So in the last episode, I was kind of excited because we had a character named Mitch who wasn't an asshole. And, nope.
No, not so much.
No, he's an asshole. In fact, he's like the main antagonist of this episode, kind of within the group. There's a main antagonistic force, but for just this episode, it's kind of him. And yeah, I've brought this up before. I think even on the show, every time you see a character named Mitch in fiction, he's a villain, and I think it is because of its proximity to the name Butch, which is just a classic bandit name. A classic that's in the way that a banana peel is the quintessential piece of garbage. Butch is the quintessential like rogues gallery tough, and Mitch is. If you see a Mitch in fiction and it doesn't seem like he's going to be the bad guy, he is.
Don't worry, he is.
He is. I've noticed this my entire life.
Who are some Mitches?
Me.
Who are some Mitches that you think fall under that banner?
Me on a bad day.
Me on a bad day.
I mean, it's kind of part of why I don't like the
Mitchell,
name
you've
Mitch.
never been my villain.
Not yet, buddy.
We'll see. We still got a few episodes.
Yeah, I've been poisoning you slowly over the course of 5 years, but I haven't told you about it, so we're good.
Okay, we'll get there.
Yeah. The bad guy in National Treasure 2, obviously. His name Mitch.
Mm-hmm. Obviously.
It's a very common name if there's a TV show and there's a female character in the show who wants to say, yeah, I had a bad breakup with my stupid ex, and they don't want to show the ex because he's like not part of the story. Yeah, his name's Mitchell or Mitch.
Man. You know what? It's funny. I can only think of one other Mitch character, but he does fall under exactly what you're saying.
Which is that?
Mitch Mitchelson from the Powerpuff Girls. He's just like this little shithead kid.
Yeah, his name's Mitch Mitchelson.
That's twice. They double down on it.
Yeah. I mean, it is a big part of why I tell people I do not like the name Mitch. I don't want to be Mitch. I only like Mitchell or Mitt.
Right,
Mitt is a better nickname than Mitch.
That's crazy to me. Like, I respect your wishes, but to me, I would be like, if anyone else that was not a friend said that, I would post in the YouTube comments, that's a weird thing to say.
Well,
but because you're my friend, Mitchell, I love it.
Yeah. And Mitch McConnell is a cartoon turtle from real life that people have bad feelings about, understandably so.
Right, true.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not even safe with the other one because there's Mitt Romney. I don't know. It's a rough name for goodness.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
You know what? I've always wondered why you did not like the name Mitch and preferred to be called Mitchell. And I'm glad that you saved it for like almost the end of the entire show to tell me.
I would have told you before if you asked. I don't know. But
I guess I didn't think to ask.
There's other reasons too, but I mean that's just sort of the big one. I think it's just a worse name. It rhymes with bitch or itch.
That's true.
You don't want to end up in a ditch. They're all negative words. Like it's just a negative sound that we've affixed to things we don't like.
Yeah, I can't think of any good words to come out of that. Let us know in the comments if you know any words.
If you know any good itch words, let us know. Write into the show. We'll accept.
Dying to know.
USPS only at this point.
Yeah, and if you maybe you'll win the grand prize.
Maybe you'll win the grand prize. Yeah. Anyway, Mitch is an asshole in this one, but he gets better over time.
He warms up to you.
Yeah, and then he dies.
Yeah, he gets stabbed in the neck by our mystery guest.
Yeah, okay. I want to talk about her
the
most. I think that she's the most important person to talk about, because I had a feeling this was coming since 2.5 years ago. But I wasn't sure. Didn't know. Did you know about this?
I did not know about this.
Okay.
If I had known before, like if someone had spoiled it at some point, I had forgotten.
Yeah. So Abel from the last episode.
Yeah, that's who we were talking about.
The Bible cigarette smoking bandit who we threw into a walker fight. He got out of there, I guess, and cut off his arm where a walker bit him, so he's good.
He's like fine.
Yeah, they really go back and forth on whether or not that works.
I think it's just a matter of like, I guess if you do it fast enough before it spreads.
That's what they say, but we've seen people turn very quickly.
True. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, he's part of a bandit camp that we find out is sort of at this war with this other community, and they've been stealing kids in order to convert them into soldiers, which is just the most. I like it because of like where it puts our characters, but it is so cartoonish at this point. They gotta steal the children for soldiers.
It is cartoonish, but at the same time, like in this post-apocalyptic world, I guess it does wrap around to making sense. You gotta take what you can get.
Yeah, I just feel like it'd be easier to end the war than just looking out for a bunch of kids that you can one by one cart away from their house, train how to be a soldier, brainwash them to your cause. It just sounds expensive to me. The overhead is wild.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Anyway, they corner AJ and Clementine in the woods at one point outside of the camp, or outside of their school, and Kane has a friend with them, and once like you look up and you can see her face, you realize it's Lily. This
from
is
season 1 all the way back.
from season 1. She survived being out in the woods by herself. Wow. Right? Wow.
Pretty crazy.
Pretty wild.
And she sucks even more now.
She she has really gone through that process. What's that like idea of people become what you make them? It's maybe she wasn't all the way fucked up before, but we've decided she's a murderer.
She
so
sure is
now
now.
she sure is. Now she
You know
is
what?
for sure.
I'm glad we left her on the side of the road, because I feel like if she just straight up took our van and then it led to this, then I would be a little more like, well, hold on.
Well, maybe
I
it would
think
go
you owe
differently
me an apology.
if that happened.
Yeah, that's true. That's so true.
Yeah.
I don't know if we'll ever find out, because I think everybody we know left her on the side of the road.
It's good to leave Lily on the side of the road.
Yeah,
I would write
it's
a
a good
song
thing.
called "It's Good to Leave Lily on the Side of the Road."
Bow, 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 dow, dow.
Oh, is that how
That's
it
how it
goes?
would go.
I don't want to write it
Yeah.
anymore.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Ugh.
Ew, that's what we're going with?
All
Never
right,
mind.
All right. But yeah, she's back, and she seems very conflicted about the person that she's going after being Clementine. She didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
How could she have guessed? It's been so many years. It's been, what did we say last episode? Was it close to a decade?
I think, but that might be overshooting it.
Just
I
shy
don't know.
of a decade. Something
Yeah,
like that.
maybe.
Yeah, because she was 9. I don't think she's 19.
No. If I were to guess, I would say 16 or 17, or somewhere around that.
16
level.
feels good.
Okay.
We can probably look it up.
That's true.
I'm doing it right now. When does The Walking Dead, the final season, take place?
How old Clementine last season?
Roughly 7 years after the events of the first one, says Wikipedia.
Okay.
The final
So,
season
yeah, 16.
canonically takes place in 2012.
Okay.
I don't know what year the first season did then.
I think the first season was 2004, because that was right at, I think I remember reading that was when it first started, the outbreak.
Oh, okay. In real life.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so we're almost roughly 7 years after that. That's actually a little shorter than I thought, but yeah, I mean, I am kind of surprised that Lily and Clementine completely recognize and remember each other. I mean, I'm not,
Well,
because it's like
you
a
can
video
play
game.
it
They
like
have to-
Clementine doesn't.
You can. Did you?
I didn't. I had her, like, obviously I'm going to have her remember. I remember.
Yeah. I bet there's people who did play these games when they came out, but only when they came out. And it's like, oof, I don't.
Sorry.
I genuinely don't remember. I left you on the side of the road. Sounds like something I would do, yeah.
Yeah, sounds fucked up.
Because she doesn't really look that similar. She's been through it. She's
different hairstyle, different. She just has a different vibe.
Yeah, she might have been early 30s before. And now she's like elder 30s or 40s. So like she's on the other side of some youth as well, and her hair is all wild, and teeth seem worse. Her teeth do seem worse.
Right.
Dustin, I'm worried about Lily's teeth.
I'm very upset. I was thinking the whole time, are you okay? We should get you like toothbrush and paste.
Yeah, so like she initially makes moves to be like, wait, don't shoot her. This is Clementine. We're friends. We knew each other.
Yeah, we got history.
Yeah, and I, as Clementine, just went like, look, I still don't want to be kidnapped by you. This doesn't really change that much. You know, it's not, this is actually not a change to the status quo of the actual situation.
Yeah, this does not make it better what you're doing.
Yeah, it's weird to see you here, for sure. But I'm still not wanting to be kidnapped. And she didn't like that. Lily chased us out and fired shots at us and hit AJ in the... Did she hit AJ or did Abel hit AJ in the abdomen?
I thought it was AJ. Or, I'm not AJ, Abel. Sorry,
yeah,
that
makes sense. AJ and Abel kind of have a weird rivalry now.
It's very funny, but very understandable at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah,
he's his Star Wolf, one might say.
And it took me a second to be like, what are you referencing? Like, oh, Star Fox, got it.
Yeah.
You don't hear Star Wolf as a comparison very often.
I'm glad I was able to bust it out.
Yeah, I guess within our circle, I should expect it more often.
You really should.
You know, I've never finished Star Fox 64.
Not once you've never finished Star Fox 64?
I've tried a couple times in my life, and I think...
Is it just not your thing?
It seemed fun, but I did not understand how to do it. Like, I didn't understand how to not suck at it. The boss at the end of that Corneria level, I got walled at like every time. It's been a good 15 years since I've tried, but
I think you should try. It's very short.
Yeah, I mean that's what I've heard. I've heard it's great, but like I just have never gotten those controls quite down.
I getcha.
It always, I think, like, as a kid, I was
3DS.
so trained on, like, I move a guy around a space. That's what video games are. Not just platformers, but, like, if it's an RPG, that's fine, because I can move a guy around a space. I know how to do it.
You weren't used to, like, an on-rail shooter thing.
I mean, was anyone? It was so different
not.
than anything else. It was just a different kind of thing. I think people were more used to the idea of trying out new control schemes than I was at that time.
Right.
And I kind of think we're back to that a little bit. Very few major released games have such a different control scheme anymore. Most of them are moving a guy around a space. Maybe for that reason.
Moving a guy around a space, or like if you're doing like a kart racing game, usually the controls are pretty, like, no one goes out of the way to be like, oh, you press this button to go in car.
Yeah, you need the what's the go button, the reverse button, the throw an item if you can do that button, and the grind button. And if you just tell me which ones those are, and I learned them, then I don't. That's the end of the game for me.
Imagine if a kart racer came out and it was like, you use the X button to go left.
But there's no button to go right. That's just steering right.
Yeah, that's you just use the control stick otherwise.
If you want to go right, you just use the control stick to swing to the right. If you want to go left, press X.
Yeah, we kind of think outside the box like that.
That's cool. That's an interesting thing. Maybe you could do something fun with that, like on a kind of WarioWare level of, like, little challenge design.
Like, just challenge people's preconceptions of how to control a kart racer?
Of any game. It would just...
I like that.
Like, one of the sort of unwritten tenets of good game design is that you would have symmetrical controls. So if you want to go down or up in a swimming game, it's just the reverse of what the other thing is.
Right.
But yeah, if you just have completely different controls on either side of the reflection line, that's wild.
It's just for one. It's just for left, up, down, like forward, back, and right. All just how you think it would be. But you better get used to using that X button for left, buddy.
Yeah. What if when you had a mushroom in Mario Kart, you pressed, I think it's the L button, right? Like, you press the L button to throw it, or not throw it,
right,
to use it. But then if you have the star, you need to blow.
You need to, like, blow into the microphone or whatever.
Yeah, and if you don't remember to do it, you can't get it out of your inventory.
You better really figure it out fast.
Switch doesn't have a microphone. Maybe Switch 2 is going to bring back the microphone.
Would you be down for that?
I don't know if it would affect me.
Imagine if Telltale really went in on the microphone on their games. Like a system has a microphone, and you put a Telltale game on there, and every time you make a choice, you have to say the choice into the microphone.
Oh wow! What if you can say the right thing, but the character goes, "Okay, but I don't like your tone."
Man, I had a few of those in this episode. The classic, I make this option for what this character says, and they say something with a totally different energy.
Oh, do you remember a specific one?
I don't think I wrote it down, but I remember turning to my sister and I was like, see, right there.
I don't remember one of those specifically, but I do remember a couple times when the choices just didn't make sense for what I wanted to say.
Right.
There's a point in this episode where you can declare a love interest, which is a big moment for Clementine. We can talk more about that in a second. But for me in my episode, it was Violet. Was it Violet for you too?
It was also Violet for me.
Yeah, we are straight men, so that's harder to. Yeah, I mean the other one's a boy.
Also, Lewis was so mean at the beginning of this episode.
Yeah, but I think that might have been because we didn't trust him at the end of last episode.
That's true. That could be, but that doesn't change the fact.
Yeah. In any case,
I remember what it was.
Oh, okay.
So, it's when Lewis is saying everyone seems okay with you staying. After AJ gets shot, and they're fixing him up, and this is after they had already been kicked out of the school, which we haven't talked about yet either. But yeah. So Lewis says it seems like everyone is okay with you staying for now. And then one of the options you can pick is having Clementine say, "That's all I wanted." And then this is an exaggeration, but what she says is,
now that you bring it up, yeah.
Oh man, you know what? I'm so glad. Not only are you letting us stay, but everyone forgives us. Everything is great. Oh, it rules. We did nothing wrong.
You're telling me you'll forgive and forget?
And to his credit, Lewis immediately follows up with, "Whoa, I did not say that
at all." Yeah, making it sound like the player made that assumption, even though we didn't say that. Yeah, that's.
I was actually not going for that either, Lewis. I don't know where she got that.
Yeah, I'm actually just gonna say that one's a poor. It's good writing for the whole episode. This is just one poor instance of writing. You shouldn't say Clementine said that if that's not what I said.
Yeah, I don't even necessarily think it's like bad writing wise, but it is bad like choice wise, conveyance wise, because I think it does make sense. Like it plays out in a way that makes sense to have her say like, "Oh man, that's great. I'm so glad that everyone's okay." And then having Lewis follow up with, "Well, hold on. I didn't say that. Not everyone likes you again."
Well, I mean, I would factor that as a skill within what writers should have. But I feel okay saying that because in this episode, there is what I think is... Wait, hang on. Before I move on, I should say the thing I was saying before, which was that, like,
okay,
when your love interest says, "Why did you come back?" I think she's, like, gaming for you to say, "Because you were here."
Right.
But I felt like, Violet, I can have feelings for you, and you can understand that would be a crazy thing for me to say. I came back before because it was safer, because my adopted son AJ was shot in the stomach.
Yeah,
come on, dude.
That's what
why
I said.
I came back.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was like one of those things where, like, well, if I have to either say it's safer or because you were here, I'm not gonna have as full of a conversation as I would have in real life if I could just say the thing I wanted to say. But that's more of a... Maybe Clementine herself had that limitation and wasn't able to riz out of that conversation like I would have. Clementine, you could use some pointers from the old M. If you know what I mean.
That's true. If Mitchell was in this game, he would like nail every conversation right away
and immediately get killed by a walker the first one I try to fight.
Yeah, your skills lie elsewhere.
Yeah, it's compartmentalized behavior of mine. I can talk everyone into like, "Hey, you know what? I think I think we're gonna win this. I think we go out there, we make one final stand, and damned if I'm wrong, but we're the strongest, sweatiest looking kids I've ever seen. We've got it within us. I take one step outside, and I am immediately like I trip over a twig and into a walker's mouth.
Oh shit! Oh, this could not have gone worse.
Yeah, it's not even it attacked me. Like I fell into it. Like it's on me. I don't know.
Yeah, you can't even feel mad at the walker.
No, it's just myself.
You're being torn apart. Your insides ripped out, and you're just sitting there like, yeah, well.
But
I guess that's on me, guys.
The scene I liked that I wanted to get back to, that I thought was written just very well the whole time, was at one point you go and investigate the greenhouse. And
I know what this is going to be.
It's just the whole thing is the whole time in the greenhouse is my identified point that is written well. And it's not anything wild. You go in there, you look for some barbed wire, you find it. You do find a walker that used to be one of the caretakers of the school, and it's a little sad, but like that's not even the main thing. You go in there for stuff and you get it. But you're going in there with Ruby and Mitch, who are not, I would say, not main characters within the cast of this like student body.
Mm-hmm.
They're like in the B tier of important to Clementine characters. But you're having just a great conversation with both of them. Mitch kind of hates you because of Marlon. He was definitely more on Marlon's side before, and he voted for you to get kicked out of the school. Ruby kind of likes you just as a caring person, and navigating between that the whole time while you're just on a mission to get something accomplished felt so realistic, and like it had hints as well of like, even though Mitch was being very disparaging to Clementine the whole time, Clementine was a little like excited to hang out with these people, and I was trying to figure out like, why would Clementine like this? Even if she's not like saying, "Oh, I'm having such a good time," but she was in some ways just like indicating like this is relaxing for her. And I realized it's like, oh, because she's a mom and she doesn't have to do something with her kid for like 1 second.
She gets some time away from AJ for a little bit.
Yeah, I think that is like a cloud of relaxation that is like pouring over her with gentle, cooling rain, while she's doing an otherwise terrible feeling thing of like breaking into this zombie-filled garden and seeing this dead person that one of the students cared about quite a bit in in life. And the whole time, Clementine just seems kind of energized, more than normal. Like, oh yeah, wow, she's taking a break from being a 16-year-old mom.
Yeah, I mean, she's been taking care of this kid for so long already. Like, she's probably, I don't want to say overjoyed. Like, obviously she loves AJ, but this is probably like her first time away from him in like a long time.
Yeah, like the only other times I can even think of in the last 2 episodes that we've seen Clementine not with AJ is when
she wakes up at the school.
In the basement, like when she goes to the basement.
Oh, yeah.
Which was a terrible time, and I think would be overbalancing that in terms of being bad, so she did not feel relaxed about it.
Yeah.
Is that it?
Those 2 moments, I think so.
Wow, yeah. And there was one time when she goes to walk around and she sees a bunch of dead horses, turned out to be a dream. So like her dream is the only time that she doesn't have to take care of AJ. And in that dream she was stressed out that she couldn't find AJ, so I don't think they were playing it like she got a break or anything. But she's
like smoking a cigarette. It's like, I tell you, horse, it don't get better than this.
Yeah, you are scary, dead horse lying in the hallway, but
but man, just taking a little moment for myself, huh?
Yeah, you gotta count the moments that you get to yourself in this life. It'll be over before you know it. I guess you would know, dead horse.
And the horse like, yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, I'm
preaching to the choir.
I'm dying right now.
I'm done, and I realize that.
Yeah, it's I don't know what it is. We talked about this before. I don't know what it is about the Walking Dead universe that just really lends itself to this kind of like personal exploration that Telltale's doing so well,
Yeah.
compared to the other franchises. And not that they're all lesser than or bad or anything, but I think The Walking Dead is clearly the best of them. Like, I don't think it's close even. It's a runaway.
I mean, I don't feel like you would get those moments in the greenhouse just like talking with Ruby and Mitch in something like Batman or anything. These moments that you can just take to just get to know these characters.
Yeah. Like Tales from the Borderlands is more of that like epic storytelling actiony thing that, I mean, that's its own thing. It's not bad that it's missing that, but it's different, so it can't have it. Wolf Among Us might have been like the closest contender, and I think that is why The Wolf Among Us is, of the other Telltale series, probably the one with the highest fan base.
Oh yeah, totally.
Tales from the Borderlands is up there too, but
yeah, I hear nothing
those
but good
three
things
at
from
least
people.
are the highest, I would say.
Yeah.
For sure. Even though I think Batman was in some ways just as good in different ways than
The conversations between Bruce and John.
Yeah, Bruce and John, or Bruce and Alfred, and
Yeah.
In season 1, just Bruce reckoning with his dad being a bad person, and like that stuff was quite good. You don't hear people talking about Telltale's Batman that much.
Not really, no.
Might be because Batman just has this other video game series that has, in terms of popularity, very much eclipsed the Telltale game. The Arkham games are classics for a lot of people.
Right. Like I don't hear people disliking the Telltale Batman games, but I think just with all the other Batman games, the Telltale one is just like, oh, another one.
Yeah, while
this is another Batman game, and it's done well, but it's not like there's a shortage of them.
Yeah, and for The Walking Dead, this is a very special game within the franchise. It's not like they're ever going to just put out another Walking Dead game that gets the same amount of acclaim. I mean, I guess they could. I'd never say never, but it feels unlikely.
Yeah.
And like The Wolf Among Us is probably the most popular thing in the Fables universe, including the comic. Just because
I think so.
Yeah, I mean, the comic was always more of an it has its fans for sure, but it's more of like a cult classic kind of thing.
Yeah, but the game, I mean, didn't it win that poll they did on their Twitter of like most popular Telltale game?
Yeah. I reckon that The Wolf Among Us is, some of these Telltale games do better while being live streamed to a big audience that's just watching someone play through the games. And I've heard like firsthand experiences of a lot of people watching The Wolf Among Us and loving it, but never playing it.
I could see that. It's a little more action packed, a little more of a brisk story, I guess.
Yeah, and especially when you're watching it, you're I think you're putting a much lower priority on gameplay because you're not having to do it, and a much higher priority on world building and like aesthetics, to which I mean, The Walking Dead has good world building, but it's always purposefully depressing. It is not something I would really, I think if I was just watching it, that would be a negative instead of a positive. Whereas if I'm actually having to make the choices, it feels like it's aiding that. But The Wolf Among Us is the most unique looking game Telltale's ever made, I think.
I agree. Yeah. Like, even with how good this season looks, like, this season looks great. But I think if I had to pick, like, my favorite looking of the Telltale games, I would pick Wolf Among Us.
Yeah, I mean, with Telltale coming back from the dead, with the new Telltale company, with them picking The Wolf Among Us instead of Batman or The Walking Dead or even Sam and Max or Monkey Island, of anything, I think it's the correct call. It's the most correct call out of all of them.
I think so too, and I wonder if part of it is just because we had that promise of a Wolf Among Us 2 before,
yeah,
and we didn't get it, and now we finally get it feels like a loose end that gets to be wrapped
Yeah.
up.
What if they came out and said, finally, Bone 3?
I mean, I'd be excited. Imagine if they did a new Bone with everything they've learned since those original. That would be crazy to come out and say, like, I know it's been a little bit, but we're doing another Bone.
Yeah, what if they came out and they said, okay, here's Bone 3, and it's 100% of the rest of Bone, because we're not going to get a Bone 4, so we need to do all of it as one.
You're lucky you're even getting 3.
Yeah, I mean, we won't get 3, so yeah.
Yeah.
I just remembered he died, the creator of Bone, before...
He didn't?
What?
He didn't die?
I thought that happened.
He had a heart attack, I think, but he didn't die.
Wait, I gotta Google this right now. Because
Jeff Smith?
I thought that was a thing.
Well, I mean, people were talking about it on Twitter that he had a heart attack, but yeah, he didn't die from it.
True.
Yeah, I'm looking at his wiki right now. He's not bad.
He had a cardiac arrest in August of 2023. So okay, yeah, he's fine. My bad. I
not even a year ago.
that. That is on me. Sorry, Jeff Smith. Probably not what you want to hear in your favorite podcast.
Yeah, sorry. I'm glad you didn't die.
I'm glad you did not die, Jeff Smith.
Yeah.
You've got many canceled Bone adaptations left in your life to be sad about.
Oh, man.
It is disappointing. He put out a tweet being like, dude, I tried. This is like the 5th time.
Every time.
Netflix had it and they were going to do it and then they said no. And I felt so sad and frustrated for him, even though like I really don't have very much personal attachment to Bone.
He's been trying to do this for so long. I remember when it was going to be like a Nickelodeon animated movie at one point, and it just switched hands so often. Boy, it sucks.
Yeah, I think he put out another tweet at a different time that he goes like, man, do people even like this, or do they just want to say they like it? And like, oh man, that's rough, Jeff Smith. I'm sorry you're going through a time.
It sucks.
Yeah.
You know what? I do want to read Bone. Maybe once this podcast is over and I have more time freed up, I'll make some time to read Bone.
You said it 2 years ago, so I don't know.
I was doing a podcast at the time
about Bone.
Yeah,
it feels like the time to do it.
Right, but I'm saying now that pretty soon we won't be doing this every week, I'll have a little free time
to bone out.
Yeah, I can bone out once again.
From Boneville, yeah.
Yeah. Man, it's been a while since we said that.
Yeah, saying bone out from Boneville is still one of my favorite little joys in life that we have left.
We have a lot of little things that came from this podcast I've enjoyed.
It would be hard not to after 3 years. In fact, I think we've used it inefficiently.
Yeah, imagine if we came out of this podcast just completely smileless.
Just like, yeah, it was as bad as I thought it could be. And
yeah, it was basically worst case scenario.
Worst case scenario, Telltale never actually made those games. They just marketed them under the assumption no one would play them. And we found out that they didn't exist.
This whole podcast was for nothing.
Imagine if someone put out a game that is just like so unappealing. They're like, no one's going to play this, right? And then no one does. They're like, phew, no one knows that it is just a title screen.
That was close.
That was pretty close.
I was worried for a second.
Yeah, we jumped around with the story a lot. What else?
We skipped like maybe the biggest thing. Remember how AJ killed someone?
Right. That did develop. That did have some weight to it. Yeah, AJ killed Marlon at the end of the last episode, and the whole thrust of this episode until the Raiders take over the spotlight at the very end is about trying to make it right that you're with this group of people. Because I think they are, on the one hand, understanding that Marlon was a terrible person and needed to be stopped. Like, it's not like anyone really was still on Marlon's side after that, But
Yeah, but at the same time, that was a very, like, who knows if it could happen again?
he was talked down and was no longer a threat when AJ shot him, and that's the thing. And that's what
Yeah.
Clementine, if you choose to take this option, that's really what Clementine says to AJ, like, yeah, that was bad. About I After like encouraging AJ and telling him to be safe, but like loving him through the whole episode, I started this episode with a pretty hard decision where AJ had to ask Clem, like, they called me a murderer. Am I a murderer? And I kind of, I chose not to like berate him, but I did say, like, AJ, you're not a murderer. You, yeah, he wasn't
What
a
you
threat
did was
anymore. And
killing
you shot him
someone.
in the face.
Yeah, I mean, there's only so much I can say to you that is not calling you a murderer right now, I think.
Yeah, I don't want this to scar you beyond being able to help yourself, but I also don't want you to walk away from this thinking it's fine. it was pretty bad, AJ. This was one of the worst things you've ever done. So
one of the parts of being a parent is knowing when to lay down the law.
it must be nice for AJ. This is an interesting thought. It must be nice for AJ knowing that the biggest fuck up he's ever made in his life is behind him.
Yeah,
because this is the worst thing he could do.
Yeah, no matter, he's lucky he didn't do this in a day and age when there would be worse ramifications for it as well. like in the zombie apocalypse, I think, like, yeah, what you did, like, sucks is probably the worst, but I guess we're just gonna have to continue with things.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about that. Like, all told, the kids kick AJ and Clem out of their community, but then they go back later. But being kicked out of a community, pretty low risk, considering he murdered a defenseless person.
Yeah, I mean, at any moment, if any of these other kids in this group were, like, more unhinged, they probably would have killed him just out of being upset about it.
Yeah.
Like, they kind of lucked out in a way.
Yeah, and what is so strong about this decision in this episode, like at the end of the episode 1, it was kind of there as the cliffhanger. It's the plot candy they use to get you excited. Mm-hmm. But in this episode, it's really used quite well. Because it makes you consider every other time that you've killed someone in the game. Because Clementine has killed people, and she's been complicit in, like, Lee or Kenny killing people too.
I was thinking about Station Wagon Guy.
Station Wagon Guy was her first kill, right? Mm-hmm. But even beyond that, I was thinking about Carver and watching Kenny kill Carver. Because I think they had him disarmed at that point, right? So it's similar in that, like, he was down. He was down. But, like, with Carver, the choice was whether to have Clementine watch or not. It was never, don't kill Carver.
Yeah. He was going to die either way.
It would be, after what he did, and after, like, him making known his desires, it would be wild to let him thrive.
Yeah.
And I guess Marlon is quite similar, except for the idea that he was a friend. So really, that like, on a intrinsic, like, ethical safety level, I don't know if the way I felt about Carver, which is that, like, yeah, he should definitely die, even though he's down and defenseless at this point. He is a threat to us in the future. And how I felt about Marlon, which is like, oh, he probably shouldn't have died then. I don't know if that's fair, actually, but it is how I feel.
I think part of it is, like, you were talking down Marlon. Like, you could tell he was remorseful for all his shittiness he had done. It's not like Carver was like, yes, I did all those things and I would do it again.
Yeah,
if I was not about to die.
You're right. It's him saying I would do it again, or, like, I don't apologize or anything. Like with Marlon, even though he immediately felt bad about every bad thing that he did.
He was crying like a little baby boy.
And he was, especially with the girls, like, I feel with Minnie and Sophie, with him giving them to the bandits, that was a terrible call, but obviously he was put in a really hard place with that. Like, it's them or, like, everyone in his camp or something.
Yeah, and he was saying, like, he was hoping he could come rescue them. It's not like he traded them and said, "Yup, that was a great thing I did."
I need to dust.
What?
I've got some dust on my desk. I should dust.
You know what's so weird about that? That's the craziest thing. I was just looking at my laptop and I saw a little dust on it, and I thought, I should get rid of that.
Yeah, I think I want to buy one of those cans of compressed air. I've never had
That's a
one
good
of those
idea.
in my life, but
Oh, really?
yeah,
I use those all
what
the
a treat
time.
for me when I get my first can of compressed air.
Yeah, you're finally gonna be a man.
Yeah, yeah. I would use it all over my apartment.
That's awesome. I love that. I use compressed air to clean my laptop.
Yeah,
just every now and then.
I think it would be good. My keyboard doesn't have that much space that is like dig-inable between the keys, so it's actually pretty okay. But there's just dust on it between the keys that it would be good to blast out of there with a little can of espresso, if you know what I mean.
Oh, I know what you mean. Oh, you never forget your first time.
Yeah. Well, I'll become a man soon when I get my first can of compressed air. What?
God, I was just going to say, like, could you imagine being in the Walking Dead world, just being in the middle of this zombie apocalypse and saying, I should get some compressed air?
Yeah, and AJ looks at you and goes, I don't know about that.
I don't know what that is or why it would be useful.
I'm mad that you brought it up.
That comes up... I feel like I'm a worse person now than I was before.
Yeah, compressed air.
I think AJ is just too adorable in this episode. He's very good. In the first episode, I feel like, I was already on his side. I was already like, okay, I want to take care of this kid. But in this episode, just like how legit bad he feels.
He feels legit
for
bad,
good reason.
But like you can tell that there's some lack of understanding in there. Like he feels bad that everyone is sad about it. I wonder how bad he really feels about like the lack of Marlon in the world. I don't think that he feels bad about that. And I think
honestly,
that he feels conflicted that he doesn't feel bad about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, like that's got to be tough for him because he explains in this episode, like, you told me we kill monsters, and Marlon,
he was so
was
bad.
he not a monster? And like you have to like make the argument to him that he should be able to kind of just tell if they're monsters or not, but clearly he thought he was. So like he did that already. He made that judgment, and it was against what everyone else thought at the moment, and he got it wrong. And I bet it would be really hard for him to, like, on a true level, understand why what he did was wrong, rather than, like, I think what he's understanding is that he has the responsibility to, well, the word they use repeatedly through this episode is atone. He understands that he's got that responsibility. I don't know if he really has that deep of an understanding of the ethics about the situation.
No, and I guess, like, on some level that makes sense. He is still just a little kid. And like, he's very mature in some areas, but like in places like this, I think it would make sense for a kid to be like, I feel bad, but like maybe not for certain, like he doesn't understand the full weight of what happened. Because he's just a kid. He doesn't know how to deal with this situation.
Yeah.
And it sucks. I don't want to say it like it gets you on his side. He did kill someone, but I feel like it does make AJ very what's the word I'm looking for?
Well, he's troubled, and this is a school for troubled children. So he fits right in.
Yeah. It's fitting. You know what? It's good that they stayed.
Yeah. The
sympathetic is the word I was looking for.
Okay.
How did I not remember the word sympathetic?
It's very sympathetic because you can tell that he's really just lacking some amount of exposure to society that he could never have because society is over. That would have, I think, more deftly explained the ins and outs of what kind of murder and why it is bad. What kind of murder is bad and why? Because he's like, you can tell he's He's frustrated with himself and angry that they kicked him out. But he's like more angry that they kicked him out than he is about having killed someone. He's sad that he is a murderer, but he's not regretful about the lack of Marlon's existence. And like, he's trying to be, but it's just not within him to know about that, to know about why it is exactly he fucked up.
Yeah, totally. I think they're just doing a great job with AJ.
There's a moment later in the episode where he talks about Abel and how much he hates Abel and wants to kill Abel. And like, this is more okay. Like, Mitch says something in passing before, but you're not Mitch's mom. So it's kind of like, oh yeah, you're weird. Mitch said something about like, I'd love to see them rip up their guts while trying to climb up this barbed wire. Like, okay, that's gross, Mitch.
Yeah, it's strange, man.
If AJ said that, we would have a stern talking to about ethics with him again. But
yeah, I mean, he's just like so at that impressionable age. You don't want this to like shape the way he is. With Mitch, it's like, all right, well, you've already made your choices on the kind of person you are. It's fine. But AJ, it's at a point where it's like, I really need to set a good example for you and lead you on a very good track.
Well, in classical psychology, it's age 7 when they say that people get a true sense of logic about the world rather than acting primarily on instincts. And with a side of logic, it's like at 7 you start acting primarily on logic. And I think that's actually a pretty reductive look at the aging process and what happens in there, but like that's something people say. And now that we know it's been 7 years since the outbreak, AJ is like 5. And he's not there yet. So he's really just trying to figure out like how he feels about things. And in some ways, because of the harshness of the world in which he's lived, he is so mature. So Clementine can just talk to him like an adult. But
yeah,
he just doesn't have the understanding. It feels almost like programming a robot.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's good stuff with AJ still.
Totally.
One more thing that happened in this episode that I guess we should touch on, even though I don't know if we had anything that really related to it, is James.
Oh yeah, I almost forgot about James.
Yeah, very tangential.
Which is weird because it's weird because he seems like he's gonna be like a major part of the state. Yeah, but like just thinking about like all the things that happened in this episode, he really did like come to mind like after all of the other things.
Yeah, he dresses up in a walker's skin.
And how is he the last thing I remember for this episode when they lead with that with him?
I mean, this game is so fucked up that it makes me think like, has someone worn human skin before?
He can't be the first.
And I'm not sure. I think no. Like, hasn't that happened before?
I don't think so.
They've smeared walker guts on themselves to get through crowds a lot. Yeah. But I don't know if they've done like a skin suit like this before.
Yeah, maybe Clementine should have said, you can just like smear the guts. You don't have to like wear the skin over your head. That's like a weird thing you're doing.
I honestly, I'd prefer the skin over. Actually, let's talk this out, Dustin. Which one would you rather do? I would rather wear the skin suit than the guts. The guts is too stainy and I
smelly. I get that, but I think if you're just doing the blood and guts, it obscures what it is a little more. I think like you can maybe put it out of your mind a little easier.
I think you're going to put it out of your mind until you smell it. And then it's going to be pretty clear what it is.
Right, but I don't know, just like seeing the face of the walker and putting it on your head like a Halloween mask, that feels so like insane to me. And I totally get the logic, but just personally I would be like, I don't want to put that on my head.
Yeah, and
it's one thing to put blood and guts on me. I don't want a dead, decaying face on top of my own real face.
And also, he's definitely played as like almost a sex symbol for a like some understanding of a teenage girl. Like he's like Legolas in Lord of the Rings almost. He's this forest nymph of a person who is at one with nature and just a sad loner type. But I just saw you suffering,
Right.
so I sent the walkers in after you. I control the walkers, by the way, because they're part of nature. And he teaches
Yeah.
Clementine to throw a rock to distract a walker in order to not have to kill the walker, because he doesn't like seeing the walkers die. Which I cannot get on board with.
Well, here's my thing. I can't really get on board with that. Like, I feel like you should kill them if you have to. But on the other hand, I do get the logic of being like, if you don't have to put yourself and others in danger, then don't. If you can, like, send the walkers elsewhere, that gets them away from you, and it doesn't make it so, like, anytime Clementine goes to kill a walker, it's a risk.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
It's not guaranteed she can get out of that. I think it makes perfect sense to be like, okay, well, instead of getting myself mixed up in all that biz, I will throw this rock and tell them to go away.
Yeah, but that's not why he did it. He did it because he didn't want the walker to die.
Right. No, that part I'm not so sure about. But, like, I just get the logic in the action as...
as a tactical move,
how
it is
it can be
definitely
helpful.
sometimes more valid than a straight-on approach, for sure.
Yeah, but I'm not like, oh, I'm not going to put on a t-shirt that says walkers have feelings too.
Yeah, that's the specific thing they lack, actually.
Yeah, that's the one part of them. It's why I didn't have a problem killing the two at the train station in the first episode. It's like...
I've never had a problem with it. No, unless it's like a person that we knew. That makes it tough.
Yeah, but like these guys wrote that paper saying, please leave us be, this is what we wanted. It's like, no, fuck you. I don't want my boy or myself to get killed. You are dying. Sorry. Now that you're a walker, you don't get that right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're right.
Maybe that'll come up. I doubt it, since it seems so unimportant to what's actually going on, but who knows?
James felt like a Twilight character.
Interesting.
He felt a little Jacob from off of Twilight to me.
I have no experience with Twilight. I've never read
never
it
seen
or
a Twilight.
Seen
What, are you too good
I've
for
never
Twilight?
seen a Twilight. A little. I just have not had the interest.
I read that first book, and I saw that first movie.
Was it good?
Didn't see the other ones.
Were they good?
Oh, it's it's roughly what you think it is.
Cool.
Yeah.
So I made the right choice, I think.
Well, it's for a different demo.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Obviously, I would never shit on someone for enjoying something like that. We all have our things we enjoy.
Yeah. Like, you like moose.
Yeah, but not in like a weird way. It's more just like, I'm glad they exist.
Yeah, the last North American megafauna in existence.
I like their big horns.
They are large.
Have you ever seen the TV show Northern Exposure?
No.
My mom used to watch this all the time. It's this old Who Gives a Shit show. I don't even remember what it's about. But the intro of it has a moose just walking through the whole intro, and the song's like... And I just remember my mom would watch it, and I'd be like, oh, that's the show with the moose.
That's it. It's funny that I could tell when you lost interest during that sentence you were saying to me. It's that old Who Gives a Shit show.
Who gives a shit show? Who cares about Northern Exposure in 2024?
Segment time?
Let me look through my list and see if I have anything else. One thing that really hit me this episode. It's not like a new thing since it was in the first episode, but it really hit me this time. So you know the drawings in Clementine's room?
Yeah.
I really hate that AJ's drawing he did it's like a nice little stick figure drawing from a small child of Clementine shooting and killing walkers.
Yeah.
That really just drives it home like, oh, this is just what normal is now. This is all this kid has ever known. This is what is considered a good thing for him.
Yeah.
At that age, I was drawing Sonic the Hedgehog. I wasn't drawing zombies being shot in the face.
Well, he does have DJ Disco Broccoli that could have easily have been.
Right. I forgot about that. Clementine says in this episode, like, oh man, AJ, you should have seen this cartoon. It's fucking great.
I love
man.
that Clementine is basically an adult now, but she's still got, like, the best things in the world to her are still at a 4th grade level.
This cartoon I watched as a child before all hell broke loose. You would have loved it.
You know,
and
I'll see that sometimes in real life where people will say, like, dude, you know what was the real shit? Rugrats. And I'm like...
I see that literally all the time. Not specifically Rugrats, but just like, it makes sense for someone to be like, this thing I loved as a kid, it doesn't get better. I mean, my favorite video game of all time is Banjo-Tooie.
Yeah.
Nothing since has surpassed it. And that was a game I played when I was like 12.
You know, I do think there is a difference between just having this emotional connection to a thing and then them not making anything like that thing again. And so you're still like, man, I'm still looking for something like that thing. And then also like, well, okay, you just told me your favorite thing is this clearly worse version of another thing. And I just feel like you haven't been looking around.
Disco Broccoli, huh?
Disco Broccoli, huh? You've never seen VeggieTales?
Yeah, sounds cool.
Yeah. You should find Jesus and watch some VeggieTales.
I feel like you would be better off.
How much VeggieTales do you watch?
None.
Really?
I was not a VeggieTales kid.
Yeah, we didn't have like an extremely Christian household growing up or anything. We never went to church as a routine, but we did have a bunch of VeggieTales videos. I watched them a lot. They were repeat offenders within my VCR.
I mean, I've heard people say that they enjoyed I've seen people say like, oh no, yeah, like, I mean, sure, it's a Christian cartoon, but like, it's legit good, is what I hear from people.
Yeah, it was a nice combination of actually pretty passable 3D graphics at a time where not much was doing it yet because it was still quite new.
Right.
And solid writing enough. I mean, it still is about like Christian parables, so if you're very against that, it's not gonna. It's what it is. Right. And the fact that it's like a children's sketch comedy show that is written pretty well for sketch comedy. Like there's some production that seemed to go into each episode about it. Compare that to another sketch comedy thing for children from the same era, which was like All That. You ever watch All That?
Oh, I used to watch All That all the time.
Were you a fan of All That?
As a kid, I was. It's one of those shows where, like, if I were to rewatch those segments now, it's not something that can like transcend ages. It's not like, this is just as funny as it was when I was a kid.
Yeah, I watched that.
But I watched it with my sister.
I watched that Quiet on Set documentary about the Nickelodeon
not fun.
bad shenanigans. Did you see that?
Yeah, I watched it. Not a fun time.
It's primarily focused on All That and the Amanda Show. I watched a lot more of the Amanda Show.
My family liked the Amanda Show. I feel like even my parents kind of got a little into it at one point.
I think the Amanda Show was like the first time that exact kind of feeling that would later become very, very popular in Drake and Josh and iCarly was around. Because All That was like a bit of a different, more like just silly or gross out humor at the time. No, the Amanda Show was definitely a lot too. And by the time it was Drake and Josh, it was like a full sitcom of it. I don't know.
Right. I totally get what you mean.
I said I don't know because I realized like, oh, that can't be what anyone came to this podcast for.
Never mind. It's stupid.
Never mind. It doesn't matter to hear what I said.
So going back a little bit, you said you did end up hooking up with Violet.
Well, I didn't hook up with her.
Okay.
So they give you a few options leading up to this. There's a truth or dare game, and someone asks you if you have a crush on anyone in the school. And I said, don't put me on the spot like that. Because I got those dirty thoughts. I think Clementine is a very guarded person about that and wouldn't normally say that, so that's what I went with.
That makes sense.
What did you?
I said yes. I said, yeah,
nice.
maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
And they're like, who is it? And I said, that wasn't the truth. That wasn't the question. I don't gotta answer shit.
That's good. Yeah, so then it gives you the option to follow Lewis or Violet. And I think the intention was to make that as even of a choice as possible, but it wasn't. Because Lewis said he was going to play the piano.
Yeah, as soon as he says that, no thank you, not again.
Yeah, we had quite a bad time with the piano in the last episode.
Hey, Lewis, how about we go literally anywhere else, actually?
Why don't you pretend to play?
Yeah, you're really good at playing without even touching the keys.
You know, shadowboxing type training for piano playing.
But I went with Violet mainly because Lewis was so mean at the beginning.
Yeah.
And at this point, you know, he was not being... I think everyone kind of made nicey nice by that point. But even then, I was still like, you were mean to me.
Well, yeah,
and Violet has been nothing but my friend.
I think there was a point in the beginning of the season where I think both of us kind of picked Violet. And because of that, it's just snowballed into this, well, I'm not going to pick Lewis now. Especially if he tries to get me in that room with the piano again. It is glitched and cursed.
Major turnoff.
But yeah, so then they give you the option to say if you have a crush, and I didn't say no. Then they give you the option to go with Lewis or Violet, and I went with Violet. Then Violet gives you the option to say, like, is the reason you came back because you love me? And I didn't say that, but I didn't shut it down either. And then Violet says, or you have the option to say whether or not you have feelings for Violet. And then at that point, you have the option to decide whether or not how much you want to pursue it. So I went all the way until the last bit, and then it's like, kiss her, say you love her, say you want to be a girlfriend, or say I'd like to take things slow. Or some breakdown like that. And I said, you know what? I'm actually a 16-year-old mom, and we're preparing for a raider attack. I think in general I should just be focusing elsewhere.
Maybe we should do other things.
Yeah, I just want to take things slow. Thanks for breaking my cow lamp.
So you were thanks for breaking my cow lamp. Every time, how many times does that come up on the show? And it's fun. It makes me just laugh every single time.
Oh, it's my favorite Homestart quote ever.
Stopping by, you guys.
Hey guys.
Thanks for breaking my cow lamp.
Thanks for breaking my cow lamp.
Stay strong, said Batman. Oh my god. But yeah, so
how was your one of those?
Well, okay, so oh my god. Okay. I'm trying to.
Yeah.
You were saying before this episode you had a case of the sillies.
I did. Yeah, I do a little bit.
So you were saying you were going all the way until the very end when you kind of pulled back.
Yeah, I said I want to take things slow, and Clementine explains this was a reverse of what normally happens, where she says a bunch of stuff I didn't say, but I felt myself agreeing with it and saying, "Oh, it's good that you understood that from me." But she's like, you know, with AJ and the Raiders and everything, it just feels like this is not a status quo time where we can be making decisions like that, and I don't want to start something and not finish it. So I have feelings for you, but let's take it slow. And Violet says that she understands and that she'll always be around for it. And when anyone in this game says they'll always be around, I know, like,
I will always be around. No matter what, nothing bad will happen.
Yeah, so you die in the finale? Cool.
Okay, good
Didn't
to know.
know that until right now. And now I know you die in the finale. Interesting.
As soon as she says that, Clementine's like, ooh.
What a cursed thing you've said. Huh.
Probably should see other people.
Or take it really fast now, actually. Like, can we do this in an hour and then break up?
Yeah, you know what? This would actually... I changed my mind entirely based off that one sentence you said. So, yeah, for me, it went kind of the same way. Yeah, I said, like, I didn't want to, like, go too fast at first. I didn't want to immediately come out and say, I love you. But, you know, I was playing it cool at first, taking it easy. It seemed like she was kind of baiting you with the constellations.
Yeah.
Like, does that, you know, remind you of anybody?
Yeah, it's a big knife. Would you say that's like me?
I'd say it's similar to like a big knife in a way.
Yeah. Oh, that seems like Mitch. He's used a knife.
Like,
I've seen him.
Yeah, you know what? We've really been hitting it off, me and him. He hated me at first, but it's great now.
I don't know, Violet. I think I'm in love with Mitch.
Cuts to an hour later, and Clementine's like, and then Mitch said this, and oh, it was so funny. You should have been there. But no, so I was playing it pretty much the same. You know, I didn't want to make it weird and move things too fast. But at the end, I went for the kiss.
Ooh.
I went all the way. And you know why?
Because
you know
never get the love interest on this show?
Yes, every single time. Every time it happens, you're like, oh no, I just hooked up with my betrothed wife in Game of Thrones. It was like easy and fine. And then I'm like, yeah, I didn't.
Yeah, I love I always love the moments where Dustin's like, yeah, I guess that character didn't have that much going on. And I'm like, oh, I married her. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, weird.
Weird. Interesting.
For me, it was like a huge whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so...
I bet your thing was good too, though.
I just had to be like, yeah, I got stepped on by a horse instead.
Some people like that. Some people, I don't know.
Yeah.
That's your thing, Dustin, I guess. I don't know.
But, so I had Clementine kiss Violet, and Violet was like, oh, wow, holy shit, cool, awesome. And they just kind of sat there and they touched hands.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, it was cool.
Did that affect anything else later on in the episode?
No, but I feel like it will have some major consequences later because you find out that Violet was dating one of the girls that got taken away. And they had hinted at that before in the first episode a little bit.
Yeah, Lily drops that and then they don't say anything about it.
Yeah, as soon as she said that, I was like, ooh, maybe this time I did a bad job.
I wonder if you go with Lewis and you date Lewis instead, if they ever say anything about Lewis dating one of the girls. There are two of them.
I could see that. Yeah.
That's why there's two of them. They both need to date two of them.
Yeah, exactly.
Was it Minnie who was dating Violet?
I think so.
Then maybe Sophie dated Lewis.
It's so hard for me to care or know at this point until we meet them.
I noticed it because her name's Minnie. It's Sophie that I have a harder time caring about of these two otherwise completely equal strangers I have not met.
Sophie sounds like someone who exists.
And Minnie's
probably.
like, ooh, your name's Minerva?
Minnie.
All right.
Don't hear that very often.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
You know what, Violet?
Exotic.
I never mind.
Exotic and fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think if there's anything else major.
Ruby's voice is very Shrimpina now. Last episode, Brody's voice was pretty Shrimpina.
I love spaghetti.
Oh, it's ever so delectable. Yeah, Ruby got a little bit of that.
Yeah, Brody's soul transferred its southern drawl over to Ruby.
I don't feel like I noticed it on Ruby before, but this episode, especially in the greenhouse area.
I mean, this is the most she's gotten to talk so far.
I think this area just is where that accent is from, and in the world. I don't know what accent it is. Is it like Alabama? Is it Bama related? Is it
Bama related?
Is it
Is it in the Bama region?
Is it in the Bama? Is it in the Kentucky? It might be something near there. I don't know.
It's hard to really pinpoint exact. I don't know accents. To me, it's just like, oh, you got kind of a slightly southernish twang to you.
Yeah. Okay. With that, should we do our segments?
Yes. Oh, well, one more thing. I don't know if you want to get into it every episode, but did you write down where you left all the characters?
Didn't write it down, but I know offhand.
Okay.
So Mitch died in the fight.
Yeah.
And the bandits abducted Lewis, Omar, and Asim.
Yes, I think that's the same for me. Exactly.
Yeah, dating Violet, so that's also the same for you.
Mine said Violet is vengeful
Oh.
because of the guys who took them.
I bet mine does too. I bet
Yeah,
mine is also vengeful.
James is trusted. Ruby is grateful. 10 is despondent. Lewis is kidnapped. Abel is captured. AJ was repentant, which is nice, and Lily was unimpressed.
I got all of those except Lily.
Ooh, what'd Lily be for you?
Very
was she
impressed.
Wow, I guess I fucked that one up, but I got the kiss at least.
And wait, I didn't know. Oh, Tennessee. He was not despondent. I don't remember what he was, but he was talking to me at the end of the episode, and he was saying like, "Hey, I'm sorry, I trusted Lily for a second there. That was weird."
Yeah, I mean that's exactly what I got too.
Yeah. Oh, maybe it did say despondent though. I did that didn't sound right.
It's not a word you hear often.
Well, I know the word. It just sounded like it wasn't Tennessee's feelings.
Despondent doesn't sound right. Are you sure you're saying it the right way?
Do you mean Depot? Like Home Depot?
Yeah, you probably
Tennessee was Home
Depot.
Depot, yeah.
Yeah. Which was weird. It's weird that the game said that, but I mean, I'm not the writer.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it'll mean something later.
All right, now I think we can go into our segment.
Okay, choice cut was, for me, it was talking to AJ about killing Abel. It was when AJ was saying stuff like, when Abel shows up, I got dibs on him. And you have the opportunity to kind of either reinforce that or say like, AJ, no, it's not good to be thinking like that. And what's very interesting about AJ's relationship with you is like, I feel like with any other game that kind of takes this paradigm of parenting and like shaping your child to be hopefully something that you're proud of, I think they would lean in further to the like rebellious teen kind of angle, even though he's not nearly a teenager. AJ listens to you. He just does. And he
knows that you know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and he has a hard time with the information he's receiving, but he does try to he tries to act on it. And that choice of like, how do I talk to him right now about like, yes, when Abel comes, we will need to take care of him. It might involve his death, but like, you can't be champing at the bit to kill a person. That's not good. Because that's
what a psychopath thinks, AJ, and I don't want that for you.
Like in AJ's defense, though, this is a different situation than Marlon. Abel has repeatedly been threatening. It's different.
This is closer to a Carver situation where he will kill you and will not feel bad and will not stop. This is someone who probably should be killed, but you still don't want AJ to be in that line of thought. You don't want him to say like, hey, I got dibs on ending this man's life.
I got dibs. You can't kill him because I will kill him.
Yeah. It's not like calling shotgun in a car.
Yeah, it's like calling shotgun in real life.
And someone's head.
It's more of a handgun.
Yeah.
Yeah, what was your choice?
Whether or not to tell AJ he's a murderer.
At the very beginning of the episode. Yeah, that's tough, but it's like you were
I think this whole episode is full of like we've had episodes of this show before where it's like these choices don't matter and I don't feel strongly about any of them. This episode, I feel like it was just hitting you with like choice after choice here. And like I was constantly pausing to think about like almost all of them. I was like, shit, what do I do? This is really making me think about what's going on.
Yeah. Totally.
And that especially just hitting you right off the bat with that. Like this super powerful hard choice. That feels like something where like I would expect that to come like later in the episode, like to be like, oh, here's one of the big choices. Fuck you. But no, just right from the get-go, very first thing. Do you tell AJ he's a murderer? It's
a deep choice. You have to think about like, I want AJ to know he's not a murderer, but what he did was murder. And is the fact that I'm even conflicted about that me being clouded by my love for my son?
Mm-hmm.
And then you think like, wait, my love for my son? I'm not even this isn't even real. I'm not even Clementine.
This isn't
He's
real.
not even my real son.
Yeah.
I'm not even your real dad, AJ.
Yeah, come on.
Come on. Stop asking me questions. I'm not even your real dad.
Yeah, so that choice just, oh man, really hit me, just sucker punched right from the get-go. But can I give an honorable mention? I don't know why I'm asking permission. I'm going to anyway. So at one point in the episode, you're playing that game. You're playing Truth or Dare with everyone in the group. And one of the truths is marry, fuck, kill.
Yeah, I had to. This was a very hard one, but very low stakes.
Very low stakes, but at the same time, you're like, oh, fuck, what do I say here? This is a very hard choice for something. Who cares?
Yeah, I did. I did eventually answer honestly, but it was tough. It was tough because I was like, well, mainly the thing was I realized that the kill just by default would go to Asim, and he's sitting right next to me.
Yeah,
and they've gotten mad at me for killing someone here before.
Yeah, he was already pissed off.
Yeah.
Luckily, he did not feel bad. Like, you say, kill Asim, and he says, oh, thank God.
That was nice of the writers to give the player an emotional out there.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was fun.
What did you say? What were all the ones you said?
I did marry James because he seemed very, he knew how to survive. He seemed like someone who would be good to be with. He's safe.
Flip, and then they say flip instead of fuck because there are children there.
I think when you've already said fuck to begin with, it's a little pointless to change it to flip and then have it mean the exact same thing it did before.
Yeah, it's one of those like insertive swears where you don't want to say the word, so you just make the person think it in their head, and then frick. they feel bad because they've said it in their head, even though like the other person said it, they just didn't say the actual word.
Right, you put it in their head. I said flip Ruby because I didn't want to Asim.
Asim to me is just like
he and I were not on good terms at that point. It would be weird to say I would flip you right now.
No disparagement to you, Asim. I just don't feel like I, the player, have had any time with you at all. So
we just had this great scene with Ruby. So you understand, right?
You understand. I said the same thing as you, except, well, I guess 2 out of 3 are different, so I didn't. But I killed Asim. I married Ruby just because I thought that, like, out of all of them, she is the one whose lifestyle I think would be most complementary to Clementine's. Because I thought James's also stuff, I didn't buy it. Like, I don't really buy James's stuff. But I do understand that whatever he was selling, like, on a visceral level, Clementine was buying. So I was like, okay, let Clementine have sex with the forest dweller, and then come home to her wife Ruby, who is caring and has demonstrated that she can be a helpful person in a pinch.
I get that too. Yeah, the only reason I went with James was he knows what he's talking about. He is a safe person to be with for a long time. But Ruby's nice.
He's also a loner,
so I like
though,
her
and
more
I
than
don't want that for Clementine in the future.
True.
Yeah,
that's true.
Ruby's more of a
another
team player.
Part of that's it's funny in this exact same scene. You dare Asim to go ask Ruby for a kiss, and she does not say yes.
No. Yeah,
she punches him.
It's revealed that Asim has a crush on Ruby,
and he's like, "Come on, you guys."
Yeah, it's pretty good.
It's fun.
It's fun.
That's another thing about this episode is I feel like having these lighter moments kind of helps humanize these characters more, and we've had like a few of those. We had the card game in the first episode. We have Truth or Dare here. They're just doing a much better job of getting me on bored with all of these characters, and it's a big group of characters. And, not all of I don't care about all of them, but like this is maybe the first time since the first season where I'm like, oh, overall, I like care about this group I'm in and want it to work.
Yeah.
Like even in season 3, I like these characters, but like you can tell like there's some shit going on that is not gonna work.
Well, I think they say in season 3 that it's only like 3 years at that point since the breakout. So it's been another like 4 years since then, and I think it's very reflective of the fact that the world with the walkers in it is kind of just a status quo at this point. We're no longer constantly freaked out. It's a problem still, but it's a problem in the way that like, oh man, I gotta do my laundry every week. I gotta do the dishes all the time. It's just a constant shitty part of life.
Yeah. It's like Marlon said in the first episode when 10 was on lookout. He's like, probably just like a... Wait, no, it wasn't 10. It was the other kid. Willie, that's it. I forgot. Yeah, he says it's probably just like a grandma walker or something.
Yeah, I because it's so status quo, they can have these calmer moments more reasonably. Where I think like if Lee tried to play a truth or dare game with the people at the motel, one, it would be out of character for Lee, but also I think everyone at the motel would be like actually very mad at you for even suggesting that you do a time waster.
Yeah, are you kidding? Well, I think it's also because like they're all adults in season 1. Yeah. They all are like, we got to focus on the important stuff. We're not going to do stupid little kid games. But here it's a collection of your peers. You're all kids in this situation. You all want to have a little levity. You all want to take it easy a little bit. And I feel like that's really effective.
We should move on to other segments. We did a huge diversion there for a second.
Yeah, whoops.
Yeah, sorry. It'll never happen again. Weekly guy? I said Lily.
Okay, I mean, that makes sense.
Did you say AJ?
No, okay. I didn't want to just say AJ again, even though I thought he was great in this episode.
Yeah.
He just an adorable little kid who you feel very bad
Who'd you say?
In this shitty situation. Well, first tell me why you picked Lily. Okay. Let's talk about it.
The appearance of Lily in this episode blew my mind a little bit. Because she's going to be there to remind us that we once cast her out for murdering one of our friends when she was not a threat. Carly. Or the other one, but probably Carly.
Or the other one. Yeah, that sums it up.
And you didn't have to have done that. Like, that is a choice back in season 1, but so many people left Lily on the side of the road. And we just did we had AJ do the same thing. And
the exact same
thing. And we're asking for forgiveness. And Lily's going to come around, and I think this is what they're setting up, to be like, how could you ask for that when you did what you did to me? And Clementine's probably going to be like, I didn't do that to you. I was a baby. It's weird that it's weird that you even said that.
That's actually like really strange and fucked up. You would put that on.
Yeah, but Lily's going to look at the camera and say, no, you did it. And then I'm going to be I'm going to be blasted out of my
Mitchell
chair.
Did this.
With profound guilt.
That would be... I don't know if I would love that or hate that if they just decide, like, in the last episode of The Walking Dead ever, they're like, we're gonna break the fourth wall and talk to you directly in probably, like, the least fitting Telltale series for that to happen.
Well, it kind of feels like they've been leading toward it with, like, what they want to do at the end of these seasons, because the station wagon guy in season 1, or the reckoning with Kenny at the end of season 2, it's this... reposting and rethinking of every choice you made up to this point, and asking, how can you live with yourself? You actually did do those things. Are you regretful? And sometimes it works out better than others. I think they try it in a bunch of other Telltale games, and it's never landed as well. Because
as season 1,
as in season 1 or 2 for me, really. Because in the other Telltale games, it's just like, you did that, and I'm like, Yeah, I actually think I did it right. You're assuming I did it wrong.
Yeah, I actually made a good call.
Yeah, I made a good call, or it's weird that you're complaining about it because you are the one that told me to do the other thing, or something like that.
Yeah, weird.
Yeah, weird, buddy. But in Walking Dead's 1 and 2, it goes pretty well. Like I think that station wagon guy moment in season 1 is a huge part of why season 1 is well remembered and impactful on the video game landscape. Season 2 just feels like people didn't play it or feel any. I do wonder if people did not understand the ending of season 2 sometimes, because it's more interesting than it lets on. But yeah, with this one, they might be setting up Lily to be that, or at the very least make you think about it in the back of your head, like you have to ask for forgiveness because it's your survival instinct. But AJ did that, and it was my survival instinct too. And look what happened to me, because Lily's not great anymore. She was rescued and alive, but she's clearly in a bad position.
Yeah,
her teeth, man. I'm worried about Lily's teeth.
Your teeth were so good before.
And she sucks immediately. Like, she's been given no favors and doesn't treat the world around her with any favors either. Lily's just a tough character in this episode. She's become quite the antagonist, and I respect the way that she was done.
Yeah, I like that. It's very different from Kenny coming back, where it's like, oh, you meet up with Kenny, and then, like, what Kenny does is, like, part of the conflict, but he's still, like, on your side.
Yeah, you meet up with him with a hug.
But here, yeah, exactly. Here you meet up with Lily, and she is just like, I am the bad guy.
Yeah.
I am not fun to hang out with, and you are not gonna like me.
Yeah, and it
there was an option to kill her in this. Like, it said you couldn't just. I don't know how it would have played out, but
I doubt they.
You have the choice.
I doubt it.
Yeah, that seems like such a major thing.
Okay, I'll look it up.
well, I don't know. I don't know, because are you sure? What if you stumble upon, like, oh yeah, and then in episode 4 this happens to her.
Yeah. Let's see if I can. No, I don't think you can kill her. I looked up just enough to not spoil myself. Good call, but I'm fine.
Yeah,
I'm fine. You don't need to worry.
Oh my goodness, I was so scared.
Yeah, I feel like any video game player worth their salt has learned that skill by this point. Of like, I just need to learn one thing. I know this.
I'll make a beeline for where it would be.
It's a bad website for me right now, but I'll figure it out.
I'll work my way through. It's a survival instinct.
So
I've learned it from the game.
Who's your guy? Who's your weekly guy?
So mine's not like as big a player as yours, but I went with Ruby. I really liked that scene with her in the greenhouse, and I just felt like, you were such a, like, nothing character in the first episode. You were, like, the fodder. You were one of the characters at the end who was like, oh, and the rest are here. This is where they're at. Don't worry about them. Who cares?
Respectfully, here, she even still kind of is, but it's done in a way that, like, humanizes the other fodder, even. Yeah. No, they do a great job with her just with that one scene. Like, you find out, like, there was a person who she thought was very important and she feels really bad about finding as a walker, the nurse. Miss Martin was her name, right? Yeah, Miss Martin was her name-o.
Yeah. I love that song.
You love that song?
Yeah, it rules. But, yeah, I just thought it was a great scene. I thought it was come on, man.
You love that. That's the funniest thing to say about that song. No, I love that song.
but yeah, I thought it did a great job of saying, like, Oh no, this is a character who has their like own thoughts, have their own place where they are here. And you know, it's not like it's unique to her or anything, but it just really hit me here how this person who you just met was very important to this other character who so far has not been important at all, and it just really helped her feel like more of a character I care about and don't want to die.
Yeah. Yeah. It's good. It's a good one.
Even Mitch, like him warming up to you, like in the greenhouse when he's making the bomb. At first, it's like, oh, this guy sucks. I hate this guy. But then when he dies by Lily Knife, I was like, oh no.
Yeah. Well, speaking of, my golden moment was the greenhouse. Just that as a whole time.
That's good.
Yeah.
Good job.
I already talked about that, so I have a second place I do want to mention. A much smaller instance within the episode is when AJ's on lookout right before he talks about that thing about wanting to kill Abel. He has a moment asking if he can swear, and he's asking if he can swear, and like he's asking like, "Am I old enough yet?" And Clementine goes, "Well, she can say whatever. You can have her say whatever you want." And one of the options is, "Fuck yeah, you can." I wanted to, but I didn't choose that. I felt like it was the wrong move in that moment, but I did say shit is the upper bound.
So what did he say?
And AJ says Abel's a fucking shitbird, and then he like he stops himself on saying fucking and is like, oh wait, yeah, no, I forgot. But then
that's good.
He says like Abel's a shitbird, and then Clementine's like, all right, calm down. And then AJ says, I'd like to take a big shit on his head. And then Clementine's like, come on.
All right, man. Like, I get it, but all right.
Yeah, I mean, he's within the bounds I set. I can't be that mad about it.
He followed the rules.
He followed the rules. I'd take a big shit on his head.
What a thing for you to say, AJ.
Yeah, that's my second place golden moment.
So, you want to know what he said for me?
Sure.
I did say, fuck yeah, you can. That's not what Clementine says. She says, fuck it, who cares? Yeah, say whatever. And AJ says, it's a little more over the top than what he got for you. He says, I fucking really hate that fucking dickhead shit fuck.
Oh, what a fun guy AJ is.
Yeah, AJ, you rule. I love this guy.
Yeah, how does Clementine react to that?
I mean, she says, whoa, that's a little much, don't you think? And AJ says, well, I do.
I love that that response because it's like, I'm not going to say I don't. I do.
Yeah, that is how I feel.
You told me we could swear.
You can't change the rules
just because you don't like how I'm doing it. Was that your golden moment? That's not your golden moment.
No.
What's your golden moment?
Mine, it seemed a little like too obvious, but I'm glad it wasn't yours. It's just the stargazing scene with Violet. It's just nice to have like just a nice little moment looking up at the star, and it's like a very pretty color of blue for the sky. And you get to play connect the dots in a Walking Dead game.
Yeah, and there's an interesting bit where like if you look down from that tower at the ground level of the school, it's the graphic black really takes over because I think it's set to be more contrasty based on distance from an object. And if I was actually trying to discern anything there, it would have been rough. But I think just as an art choice for that moment in particular, having that just look completely black and white, it was really cool. Just the whole scene up there was cool looking.
Totally.
Yeah.
There's apparently another. Do you remember in season 1 the Randy Tudor Easter egg?
Yeah.
A friend linked this to me. There's one here too, where I guess if you look up from a certain part of the constellations, you'll see a constellation that looks like a mustache. And if you put it together, you get like it's kind of like an abstract face that pops up behind it, and it's supposed to be Randy Tudor, and he just kind of winks at you.
That's great. I bet that guy's cool.
That's fun.
I don't even know, though.
Yeah, I've never met him, but that's the second time. I'm sure they've done even more than that times. They reference Randy Tudor. I hope it's because he's cool.
I hope it. That's a good point. I hope he's cool. I've been given no reason to think otherwise, but I don't know him, and I feel like sometimes it is dangerous to just like strangers for no reason. But he seems neat.
Yes, as of now, he seems neat.
Yeah.
Mitchell, before we wrap up, something I wanted to bring up. something I wanted to bring up that I forgot to bring up last episode, and I couldn't believe I forgot. My sister reminded me of it today. She said, "You forgot to mention the Benang."
Oh yeah, I didn't really forget, but it was a minimal thing.
I felt like it was worth bringing up because it might be the last time.
Yeah, we didn't see it. It
might be our last.
Isn't that right? We didn't see it there.
We didn't see it in The Expanse. Who knows if we'll see... I have to imagine we won't be seeing it in episodes 3 or 4 of this. So this could be our last time with Benang, and I just wanted to give it its due.
You know, it is important that Benang is in Wolf 2. If they want to make it authentically like Old Telltale is back, there's got to be Benang in it.
Yeah, like, I understand it not being in The Expanse. I get it.
I understand that they probably
like
laid off the person for whom Benang was their signature. So,
yeah,
oops,
that
a
sucks.
little.
Yeah.
Oops a little on that one. But
I still want to see it.
I still do want to see that, yeah. Okay, yeah, that's the episode. So
that's
Dustin,
all I got.
Great episode, I think. I really liked this one.
I felt like this went great. This was I'd put this in our top 10, I think.
Oh, like episode of the podcast. Yeah, sure. I mean, I guess we did well.
Oh, you mean the episode of the Walking Dead? Yeah, also very good. I had a great time with it. I was just and even as like one of those we are on the road to get there episodes. As far as those go, it might be the best one just because it has so many other great things.
Well, we had a lot to talk about,
little character moments. Yeah, I didn't think this episode was going to go so
well. We had a lot to talk about, and in addition to having a lot to talk about, it was just... It was a solid end on the technical production level for all the writers and designers and environment artists and everyone at Telltale. You know, there's no way to say that it was a good end because it was premature and these people were doing a good job at their jobs and should have been allowed to keep doing it. But
it wasn't a good spot for it to end.
It was not a disappointing end at all.
Yeah, if it had to end here, it went out on a very high note.
Yeah, and I mean, it definitely did have to end.
Yeah.
Yeah, so 2 more episodes of this game that were with Skybound. I forget the second word of that word a lot.
There's a lot of different Sky followers.
Yeah, Skywalker, Skyler, like a guy named Skyler.
Skyler.
No, the following 2 were made with largely the same team, but through Skybound rather than Telltale. And that's gonna be it before the end of our show. We'll do 1 more episode after that as sort of a recap, and of course we'll come back if Wolf 2 comes out anytime soon,
or at all.
Oh man, I really hope it exists. We got more.
I'm really hoping.
We did talk about the Keeley screenshots.
Yeah,
the Keeley screenshots that were just, here's 4 new screenshots of the game, and people were like, "Oh, is a release date soon?" And then he goes like, "Oh, it's just 4 screenshots. I don't why make something out of nothing."
4 screenshots. Yeah, and I mean that is somewhat of a relief. It doesn't guarantee anything, but it does say like, "Hey, this is at least still something to put out there."
Yeah, 4 screenshots. It's a weird marketing move.
Yeah.
I've never seen a marketing move as small as that before, but yeah.
At this point, you know, I'm grateful for anything.
It does help to make it seem more alive, but I'm nervous any day they could pull the stops out and be like...
Exactly.
At this point, it would be like Star Fox 2 or something where like it's basically done, but we just can't we just can't put it out, and that would be
be
quite
so
disappointing. And especially with an episodic thing like that, you could totally imagine, like, well, if the first 3 episodes are done, but it'll never be finished with the other 2, do you put that out or not? Like, that would be, I guess you wouldn't. I guess you would have to not do that.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Oof. I hope they can finish it. I really hope that it can. But we're going to schedule this podcast as if that game does not exist. And we can maneuver from there if needed.
That's a good plan. I like that.
Yeah, so 3 more episodes, and I'll see you next week in order to do episode 3 of the final season of The Walking Dead. And until then, Dustin, have a great summer.
Hey, you know what, Mitchell? You too.